Hi everyone, I'm Ben from Literature Review HQ, and I just want to give a short video today to answer a question from Twitter, from Jennifer, from My Studious Life. Is that right? mystudiouslife.wordpress.com, which is a really interesting blog that I've just started reading, but I'm going to be reading it a lot in the future. What she asked me was, how do I synthesize the argument for my literature review? How do you synthesize the thread, and how do you come up with essentially what is your literature review? And basically, yeah, it's very difficult. Now, I imagine this is different for a lot of people, and it's certainly taken me quite a long time to develop the way that I do it and the way that I feel comfortable doing it. So probably from the get-go, I would say it's a skill, and it's something that you develop to feel comfortable with in yourself. But I think this works really well, partly because I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to doing this kind of thing. I'm not doing this. I'm not someone who likes to do the matrices and write down in boxes all the ways in which different literature ties together. Probably because I actually start working out the thread of my literature review before I've even read any papers. And I will explain that now. I start developing the thread as I'm actually searching for papers themselves, in the middle of the search. So, okay, I'll explain. So I'll go to my database, whatever it is. I'm using Web of Knowledge here, but this may very well be anything. Scopus, Google Scholar, it really doesn't matter, the principle is the same. So I'll pick some keywords. I'll go for one that I've used already. I'll just do the search here now. Okay. Now, the way that I use this, you don't need anything special, but what I do find really handy is having a tabbed browser, as I've got here. I'm using Google Chrome, and in fact, as I'm saying have a tab browser, in most of the browsers actually support tabs these days. I remember when it wasn't necessarily the case, and tab browsers were something very new. But no, that's not the case now. So if you've got a tab browser, then this will work very well. Now I'm going to go through all these references, the ones that I like, and I'm going to open them up in a new tab. So just off the title, if it looks interesting, I'll go through, I'll click on it, and I'll open it in a new tab. Anything else that I like? Okay, so that's a good number just for demonstrating. So maybe I go through this and see here I've got 3 pages of results, 22 results. That's a nice number for a set of keywords. That's a very manageable number. So what I do then is I go through each of the results. I would have a look at the abstract. If it looked interesting, if it looked relevant, then I would bookmark it, so I know I can always come back to it. And I'd put this in a separate folder. I'd probably create a special folder for just this set of keywords, so that I knew when I went back to it that this was this is exactly what I typed in search for it to generate these results, which is always important to know. So I do that. So I bookmark all these in this folder. So once I've selected the folder, then it automatically, in Google Chrome, automatically takes you to that folder, and they all get saved. If there's something that didn't look very interesting, so say I didn't want this one, then I just close that straight away, and then go and bookmark the rest of them. So that's done. So essentially what I've done now, I've searched for keywords, I've rapidly gone through all the titles, picked the titles that looked interesting, quickly glanced through the abstracts, probably not even read them properly, just made sure that it was interesting, discarded the ones that weren't, and I've saved those in a file that has the same keywords as the ones that I search for. Okay, now what I do is I open a word processor and I go through each of these abstracts and I make notes as if I were writing a literature review, basically. So I'd say, for example, here, Ola et al. Said this, whatever they say in their abstract. Then I go to the next one and I'd say Silva et al. Said this. So I basically go through all the abstracts that I found interesting like that, and I would write them in my own words. Now, writing them in your own words, it means that you have to process the information mentally, which is it's a very good thing to do very, very early on, and it also means that you're writing some kind of a dialogue. Now, I actually find this easier to organise, and by writing it down in a dialogue way, it kind of it gets my mind working in literature review writing mode. I'm writing from the very start, and I'm putting things down on paper, and that just helps me get in the mood to actually make a literature review, which is a bit of a mental boost for me as well. When you finish doing something like this and you end up with a document that is, maybe 500, 1,000 words, even more, it makes you feel like you are making progress. In actual fact, you are, because you're writing something which on paper in a Word document is going to be the very beginnings of your literature review. So that's what I do, and then once I've finished that, I'll close them all. I'll do another set of keywords, make another folder, and keep going through there. Now, what happens when you've actually done this is you end up with, on your browser, you have a lot of different folders representing a lot of different keywords, and these keywords will generally represent different threads and different themes that will go through your literature review. So they're already organised because of the search you've done and because of how you saved them, which is really, really helpful, because it's very, very quick as well, but it's very, very, very organised, and it makes it very easy to go back, look at different papers again, pick them up, and it segregates your themes. Now, what happens as well is if you write all of these things down in a continuous document, you would think that it would become quickly quite unmanageable and unwieldy, and I thought that as well when I started doing this. I mean, I was just doing something to make notes as a way of processing the information I was reading, which is a very good thing to do as well. But the fact is, when you write them down, it's amazing how easily you remember what you've written before, even if it's been hours or a few days. And what you can then do is, when you're reading a new piece of information or a new paper, even from a different set of keywords, you might think back and think, oh, that fits in really well to what I read a few days ago. I can put that in there. And so you can then go and write, you can write about what you've recently just read and relate it back to something that you read quite a while ago. And this is a very organic way to synthesize your own ideas by fitting it into what you've already read and what you've already thought about. And that is basically it. That's how I get started. It works really, really well for me. And I start from the very beginning, synthesizing the arguments in the thread as I'm synthesizing the papers that I want to read, and it just works brilliantly. Where I think these the matrices come in, which I'll talk about maybe some other time, is where you kind of make a matrix of the different arguments and which papers back them up and support them. I think for me, doing something like that would work well after I had done a research, done some reading in this way. Then I could go and construct some kind of a matrix to try and help organise my ideas further and really kind of pinpoint exactly how I want to structure paragraph by paragraph my literature review, and help to really strip out things that aren't interesting, highlight gaps where I need to do some more reading. But yeah, that's how I do it. That's how I get started. and I really hope that this was useful for you. So yeah, thanks very much, and if that was of any interest, please check out my blog at literaturereviewhq.com, and I'd also recommend that you check out Jennifer's blog at mystudiouslife.wordpress.com. Okay, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.